There was a woman named Maya who learned to disappear long before she understood what she was losing. It started small, the way most erasures do. A laugh she softened because someone said it was too loud. An opinion she swallowed because the room preferred agreement over truth. A dream she folded up and tucked away because the people she loved said it wasn't practical, wasn't realistic, wasn't the kind of thing girls like her were supposed to want. By the time she was 30, Maya had become a masterpiece of accommodation. She was kind, agreeable, easy to be around. She never caused problems, never made waves, never asked for too much or expected things she hadn't earned through silence and compliance. People loved her for it. Her friends called her sweet. Her family called her responsible. Her boyfriend called her low maintenance. And Maya smiled through it all, never letting anyone see that beneath the performance, she was slowly vanishing. She worked in marketing for a company that sold things she didn't believe in to people who didn't need them. It wasn't the career she'd dreamed about as a girl. Back then, she'd wanted to paint, to create things that made people feel something real, something true. She'd filled sketchbooks with worlds that lived only in her imagination, colors that spoke louder than words ever could. But her parents had been practical people. Art didn't pay bills. Dreams didn't provide security. So Maya had chosen the safe path, the reasonable path. The path that slowly buried the girl she'd been under the weight of who everyone else needed her to be. Her boyfriend Derek was a good man on paper. Stable job, nice apartment, plans for a future that looked exactly like everyone else's future. Marriage, house, children, retirement. A life drawn in straight lines, with no room for color outside the margins. He loved Maya, or at least he loved the version of her that never disagreed, never complained, never wanted anything he wasn't willing to give. And Maya had learned to love him back, or convince herself she did, because loving him was easier than facing the loneliness of being herself. She changed for him in ways so small she barely noticed them accumulating. She stopped wearing bright colors because he preferred earth tones. Stopped listening to the music that made her want to dance because he found it annoying. Stopped seeing friends he didn't like. Stopped suggesting activities he wasn't interested in. Stopped expressing thoughts that might lead to conflict. She became a mirror, reflecting back whatever he needed to see, never showing him the person hiding beneath the reflection. The turning point came on an ordinary Tuesday that felt like every other Tuesday, in a life built from repetition and surrender. Maya was cleaning out her closet when she found an old box shoved in the back corner, covered in dust and years of deliberate forgetting. Inside were her sketchbooks, dozens of Tim, filled with the dreams of a girl who still believed she mattered, who still thought her voice deserved to be heard, who still knew who she was before the world taught her to be smaller. She sat on her bedroom floor and opened the first sketchbook. The drawings were raw, imperfect, alive with a passion she couldn't remember feeling. There were portraits of people who didn't exist, landscapes from places she'd never been, abstract explosions of emotion that needed no translation. And on the last page, in handwriting that belonged to a younger, braver version of herself, were words that hit like a punch to the chest. Never forget who you are, no matter who they want you to be. Maya stared at those words until they blurred with tears. When had she forgotten? When had she decided that being loved was more important than being herself? When had she traded her identity for the comfort of fitting in, of not making anyone uncomfortable, of being the kind of woman who never asked the world to make room for her? That night, Derek came home to find Maya painting. She'd set up an easel in the living room, covered the floor with newspaper, and was working on a canvas that blazed with reds and oranges and purples he'd never seen her use. He stood in the doorway, confused and slightly annoyed, asking what she was doing. And for the first time in years, Maya told him the truth. She was finding herself again. The self she'd buried to make him comfortable. The self she'd erased to make everyone else happy. The self that deserved to exist, even if it wasn't convenient. Even if it wasn't what he'd signed up for. Even if it meant people stopped calling her easy and started calling her difficult. Derek didn't understand. He said she was being selfish, irrational, changing for no good reason. He reminded her of everything they'd built together, as if the life they de-built was unconstructed entirely from pieces of herself she'd de-sacrificed to make it fit. He asked her to stop painting, to put away the easel, to be reasonable. And Maya, for the first time in longer than she could remember, said no. The relationship ended that night, not with screaming or drama, but with the quiet recognition that he'd fallen in love with someone who didn't exist, and she'd spent years pretending to be that person. Some loves survive transformation. Others only survive stagnation. Derek needed her to stay exactly who she'd been, and Maya finally understood that staying meant dying in ways that couldn't be measured but were no less real. The months that followed were terrifying. Maya moved into a small apartment that smelled like paint and possibility. She quit her marketing job and took freelance work that paid less but left her time to create. She dyed her hair the deep red she'd always wanted. She wore colors that made her feel alive. She said no to things that drained her and yes to things that scared her. She laughed too loud, had opinions that made people uncomfortable, took up space she'd spent years apologizing for occupying. Some people didn't like the change. Her mother said she was going through a phase. Old friends said she'd become difficult, complicated, too much. But Maya noticed something extraordinary happening. The more she became herself, the more she attracted people who actually liked who she was, not who she pretended to be. Not the accommodating version, but the real, messy, passionate, opinionated, colorful woman she'd been hiding. Have you ever felt like you're disappearing? Like you've spent so much time fitting in, you've forgotten who you were meant to be? Let's talk about Maya. For years, Maya was a master of camouflage. She learned to blend into any conversation, any relationship, any expectation, smoothing out her edges until she was perfectly agreeable and utterly invisible. She thought this was the price of being liked, of being loved. One day, while cleaning out her attic, she found an old sketchbook. Inside, scrawled in a child's handwriting, were the words, "Never forget who you are." It hit her like a punch to the gut. When did she forget? The pages were filled with vibrant, messy drawings, a language she hadn't spoken in years. That night, she bought a set of paints. Tentatively at first, then with a surge of forgotten passion, she began to paint. Not what she thought people would like, but what she felt. Chaos, joy, frustration, it all spilled onto the canvas. Slowly, this newfound honesty began to seep into her life. She started showing her art in small, local galleries. In conversations, she started saying what she actually thought, not just what was expected. She began building a life that looked nothing like the one she'd been told to want. And for the first time since she'd learned to disappear, Maya felt truly present in her own existence. It was terrifying, and it was exhilarating. One evening, she stood before a freshly finished canvas. It was a self-portrait, but not of her face. It was an explosion of color and emotion, chaos and beauty, pain and joy all tangled together. It was her, completely and unapologetically. And there, written in tiny letters at the bottom, were those same words. Never forget who you are. In that moment, Maya understood what her younger self knew instinctively. Your identity is not negotiable. It's not something you trade for love or approval. It's the most precious thing you own. Every time you erase a piece of yourself to make someone else comfortable, you lose something you can never fully get back. The world will constantly ask you to be smaller, quieter, more convenient. It will reward you for disappearing, for accommodating, for shaping yourself into whatever mold makes others most comfortable. When you finally take up space, they might call you difficult. When you prioritize your own dreams, they might call you selfish. When you refuse to be less than you are, they might call you too much. But here's the truth Maya discovered. Standing in her paint-splattered apartment, surrounded by art that screamed her name. Being yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. It's the critical difference between merely existing and truly living. It's the difference between being loved for a character you play and being cherished for the person you actually are. So please, don't erase yourself for people who can't handle your fullness. Don't dim your magnificent light just because they prefer the dark. Do you want to ever trade your identity for the temporary comfort of being liked by people who don't even really know you? Because the right people, your people, will love you louder, not quieter. They will celebrate your colors, not ask you to paint your world in grayscale. They will make room for all that you are, instead of asking you to shrink. You were not born to disappear. You were born to take up space, to be seen, to matter in a way that is uniquely and unapologetically yours. Never, ever forget that. No matter who they want you to be. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.